Okay, we're into our last session on succession and community development. Today we're going to look at how we can determine the number of species that would be living in an area, species diversity. There are two major factors that affect the species diversity of an area, and that is its size and degree of isolation. Now in the 1960s, two gentlemen, Robert MacArthur and Edward O. Wilson, and I'm not normally big with people's names, but you really should know Edward O. Wilson. MacArthur, important, but not so much. He was really a partner in this project with Wilson. But they basically started studying on island communities, discover why some islands had more than others. There's Eddie, and he's my hero. I actually have seen him do lecture series. I've even gotten backstage passes. Yes, I know I'm a nerd and I'm proud of it, but that's all right. He's basically the leading figure in naturalism. Kind of an interesting character. He's actually had one eye out when he was a boy. He was fishing and got a bite, yanked hard on it when he was a little kid, and it was like a bluegill or a brim, you may be aware of. It has a sharp rays on the back fin, and it came up out of the water and hit him right in the eye. And he's old enough now that eye surgery at that time was not that advanced, so he basically lived with it. But anyways, he's my hero. You ought to know him a little bit, know your instructor, know what he likes. E.O. Wilson. All right, so anyways, what they did is they came up with a model, a species equilibrium model. And the model stated the number of species on an island was determined by a balance of immigration and extinction rates. It looks something like this. Obviously, it'd be a little bit more complex. And I want to explain your axis here real quickly. The y-axis is a rate of change. It is not a number, but a rate of change, going from slow amount of change to high amount of change. And then on your x-axis is the number of species that you would find on that island. Now the two lines that you see here, this red one is extinction, this green one is immigration, that's organisms coming into the island. They are both rates as well too, all right? Where the two of them meet and cross with one another, you would take that intersection, drop straight down to your graph, and you say, oh, that's the number of organisms that you would then find on that island. And that's what this says here. At some point, immigration and extinction will come to an equilibrium point, and that's the number of organisms you would find on that island. Now, the model also then throws in factors for size and isolation, and we'll look at both of those in turn. Now, a smaller island is going to be much harder to find. If you're a bird flying along that's been blown off by a storm, it's easier to find an island the size of Texas than it is to find one the size of a garbage can. So, this is how it's going to then change that graph. Same idea with axes, rate of change, number of organisms. Still my green lines are immigration, my red lines are extinction. Now when, these are, remember, rates, so when those factors change, you don't just move up and down on the line, you move the entire line because its whole rate changes. So for a smaller island that's harder to find, extinction rates will go up. This wasn't described yet, but that means less resources on the island, less food, less niches, less places to live.
Mr. Ogren?
Yes?
Okay, you have a box up here that was just delivered, and it's for the Envirofund resources.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the entire island will have, sorry about that, will have less places to live and more organisms go extinct, so your extinction rates go up. Immigration, on the other hand, a larger island is easier to find, so your amount of organisms that begin to find that island go up. Once again, you just look where lines cross, so larger island, you'll have more species. Smaller island, less species. The last factor to talk about here, and I want to try and do this quickly, is isolation, how easily it is to find that location. The farther off the mainland an island is, the harder it is for an organism to find. If you're an insect or a bird, something that's 1,000 miles off the coastline, which is really too far, but it was going to be very difficult to find versus something that's 10 feet off the mainland. Isolation only affects immigration. It has no factor on extinction or what resources are there. So once again, whole line shift, a near island, more immigration is going to occur. farther less is going to occur. Where they cross that extinction line will determine the number of species on the island. And that is it for species diversity numbers on a location, and the end of also the series on community development. Thanks.